I'm so nervous, but all good. I just want to acknowledge that we are on Gadigal land tonight and pay my respects to elders past and present, and also acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded and this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Is that okay? Sorry. I also want to acknowledge that there are two other strong black women here tonight, and I've watched this space shift in my lifetime, and I'm so honoured to be here and to be sharing the stage with Mia and Evie tonight. So, thank you. This is going to go longer than 6 minutes too. So, I just want to share my story with you and how I got here tonight. So, I've always battled with mental health and addiction, but I functioned. I had kids, I worked, I bought a house. But things would always get out of hand. And at one point, my husband took our 4 kids and left and said, you have to do something, like I can't live like this. And around that time, I was also incorrectly diagnosed with bipolar and prescribed psychotropic medication. And one morning, I got my box of medication down off the fridge, and I just had this knowing that this wasn't it, that this wasn't life, and I was going to do something. So I signed up for a 5K. Running was a last resort. So signed up for the 5K, started training, and within like a few weeks, the impact was so significant that I actually left my government job, got my relevant qualifications, and I put a call out to all the mob in Queanbeyan and just said, who wants to learn to run? This was a free program because I felt like I'd found something magic and I wanted to pass that on. So I put a call out and people turned up and more people turned up, and it snowballed into something that I never expected it to. So a few years after that, Deadly Runners started in Queanbeyan. The program was misappropriated by an organisation that I trusted and a person I trusted, and this broke me. The impact was devastating. I started drinking, and then drinking some more, and then taking drugs. And before I knew it, I was in a full-blown ice addiction, and I'd left my husband and my children. But we lost our house that we'd recently bought as well, and our jobs, and we'd lost everything. So I have a good husband who stuck by me and fought for me, and in his words, he said he never forgot who I was, and that's why he fought. So I got clean in 2018 and trademarked Deadly Runners, but what I'd been through had actually forced me to go on a journey inward and understand how a healthy mother of 4 who loves her children ended up a drug addict. So in 2022, Deadly Runners started back up again, but this time the reason why was because I didn't want anyone to go through what I had been through and what my family had been through. So Deadly Runners operates today by combining the 3 things that completely changed the trajectory of my life and had a profound impact on it. So the first is running. So a lot of mob, we have complex trauma and addiction rates just higher. So what people with complex trauma and or addiction, they don't sit well in discomfort. And what long distance running does, it teaches you to sit in discomfort and that it's okay. The second is our leadership camps with a trauma training component. So when you give people, mob, the space and the time to learn about trauma and complex trauma and childhood trauma and how that shapes your decision making and how you view the world and your physical and emotional responses, it removes shame. And shame's big for us. And when you remove shame, you create this beautiful space to be kind to yourself and have self-compassion. And the third thing is creating opportunity through leadership and covering the cost of race entries. So when I've seen people coach and lead in their communities, a Deadly Runners group, the shift you see in how they carry themselves is a feeling I actually find hard to articulate. It's incredible. And covering race entries isn't actually like a nice little thing we do or a cool thing. It's actually a key essential part of the journey they go on. Because when they train hard for something, when mob train hard for something, and then they go to these big events, it actually expands their awareness on what is possible. So Deadly Runner's vision is actually quite simple. Mob are thriving, courageous and healthy. In the last 2.5 years, I've had 160 people go through the Deadly Runners program and completed at least a 5K. They've gone on to do 10 half marathon and full marathon. I've done 3 leadership camps in that time where 26 people have got nationally accredited qualifications in level 1 coaching with Athletics Australia, mental health first aid and trauma training. Of those 26, I've employed 6 people on a casual basis to deliver Deadly Runners in their own community. So one of those people is this young fella Harley, whose permission I have to tell his story tonight. So when I started in Deadly Runners in Narooma a few years ago, Harley has battled with addiction too, So when we started, I'd see him and he said, I'd join one day. And he actually did join. And he did the 5K program, and then he did the 10, and then he went on and did a half marathon. Then he attended our leadership camp and got his qualifications. And I now employ him to run Deadly Runners in his own community in Bega. And he ran his first marathon in August, and he's about to be a dad any day now. Yeah. Lost my place. So what I'm asking for tonight is $30,000 to launch the very first Aboriginal-led trail running event on country. This will be taking place on the far south coast, on Yuin country, where I have lived for the last 2.5 years. I've lived in a lot of communities, and the mob on the far south coast are probably the most staunch and kind people I've actually ever met. So they, despite a lot of adversity in the past, they have maintained a really strong connection to culture and actively reclaim language as well. So to be able to create an opportunity to have this on their country and for them to share that would be an absolute privilege. And I just can't... the feeling we get when we run on country, it does something to our spirit. And I'll leave it with that. So this event will create economic benefit by employing and training Deadly Runners and local Aboriginal businesses. It will help us actually create a foundation to have an annual running event that's going to help us create a sustainable revenue stream that we can put directly back into our impactful programs. So this is your chance to back an Aboriginal-led initiative. I think it's really important to say this event isn't actually about running. For us, it's about self-determination in action. It's about it's about reconciliation in action, and it's about Aboriginal people leading from the front and inviting all Australians to come and run with us. So we're ready to go. We've got event management experience on our team. We've got a partnership with a major sporting brand apparel, and we have a local business owner donating the use of his land and accommodation for this. I just need you to make it real. $80,000 will fund a leadership camp and provide ongoing learning and development for our Deadly Runners. But what I'm going to do is finish tonight with a quote that I have pulled from our recent impact report. Deadly Runners stands as living evidence that culturally grounded, community-led initiatives are not the alternative. They are the blueprint for lasting change in First Nations communities. That's it, I'm done.